What are the next 10 years going to be like for society as a whole? What's transportation going to be like? What's the climate going to be like? What's technology going to be like? In this video, I want to discuss all that and go through a detailed timeline as to what I think is going to happen within the next 10 years, year by year. So here we are in mid-2024. We have seen this year so far global carbon emissions peak. We've seen renewable energies like solar and wind make up now 30% of the entire global market of energy. We've seen the introduction of things like GPT-4o, which provides live translations, multimodal functions. It's a very well-equipped AI learning model. We've seen Apple come out with their Vision Pro headset, which incorporates VR and AR in a fairly capable device. We have seen the first AI regulations drafted by the European Union, which signifies that governments are taking AI now seriously more than ever before. Now, in August of 2024, this year, I think that we're going to see Tesla announce their robotaxis. I also think that in December, Tesla is going to release their Optimus Gen 3 robot, which is going to have 22 degrees of freedom in their hands. So this year, we've seen the ball start to roll down the hill for AI and technology. And you're going to see in the next few years, we're going to gain tons and tons of momentum. So keep that in mind as we go through this timeline. Now, in 2025, I think Google and OpenAI and other major companies, perhaps Meta, are going to announce and release to the public their major multimodal learning systems like GPT-5, perhaps Gemini 2.0, and they're going to be very capable. We're going to probably have over 6 trillion parameters, which is almost equivalent to 10 to 20% of what the human brain is capable of doing in terms of generative ability, reasoning, and logic, things like that. We're also going to see lots of on-device AI. You're going to have Apple and all those other companies incorporate AI into their systems, into their operating systems. So you'll be able to go to your phone, ask it to, generate a photo for me this way, and bam, there you go. You have a photo on your phone, AI generated. I think mid next year, Tesla is going to announce that their full self-driving has now reached near human capabilities. It's going to reach level 4, level 5 areas, and it's going to be able to drive pretty much for hours on end without any human intervention. So we're going to get closer and ever closer to level 5 full autonomous driving. I don't know if you guys are aware, but Tesla has been investing heavily in NVIDIA chips, GPUs, which they're using for their end-to-end neural network learning, for their robots, and for their cars. So they're essentially downloading tons and tons of videos, giving it to their systems in their cars, and the cars are learning how to drive through per videos, right? So we're going to see exponential improvements in autonomous driving abilities. And I think by next year, there are going to be some areas in which full self-driving is better than human driving. And we're also going to see next year the development and production of the robotaxi, which is going to be probably under $40,000 and, fit 4 or 5 people and be able to basically be fully autonomous and drive people around like taxis. We're also going to see next year, I think, tons of major search engines, especially Google, Facebook, and Meta. We're going to see lots of search engines across all operating systems integrate AI. So you're going to see the ability increasingly to search not just, for websites, but also through documents. So instead of searching for individual documents, you'll ask it, hey, go through this document and give me the results from this document, or summarize the results from this document, or give me the context of this video, or tell me what this video is about, right? You'll be able to search those kind of things. More contextual AI implemented into our search engines by next year. And in fall, we're going to see the release of GTA 6, which is going to be a huge game. And we're going to see lots of AI implemented in that game. We're going to see smarter NPCs, a game that is kind of adapting to the player. You're going to see that more and more often in gaming. In 2026, this is the year things start to get pretty crazy. So I think by this time, early 2026, you'll see at least 5 million jobs be completely eradicated because of AI and robotics. I think by this time, we'll also see NVIDIA release this mega AI chip that is super powerful and super cheap at the same time, enabling even more exponential acceleration of end-to-end learning for robots and for self-driving cars. I think by early 2026, we're also going to see Apple release their next Vision Pro 2 headset, which is going to be thinner, smaller, more powerful, more compact, and likely be able to play console level gaming, which is going to introduce a lot more people to it. It's going to put a big spotlight on, AR and VR headsets. At the same time, we're going to see more companies release AR glasses, very thin glasses. They're going to be less capable as the Vision Pro 2. AR glasses are going to start getting popular during this time as they become more capable. At the end of 2026, I think SpaceX is going to finalize their Starship in terms of getting ready for Artemis 3 missions to the moon. They're going to be able to launch it, orbit around the Earth, and land successfully in 2026. At this time, Tesla's also probably going to release their Gen 5 Optimus robot, which is going to be capable of performing at least a third of what humans can do. So you'll see more robots replacing human workers in very particular places, especially in manual labor tasks, which are very harmful and dangerous. I also think that there is going to be a software that enables these bots to learn. So I think that you're going to have the ability for anybody, developers, just like we have for the App Store, they're going to be able to teach robots to do like any task. So you can essentially teach robots through visual learning, videos, perhaps simulations. You'll be able to teach easily robots what to do and how to do it. We're also going to see in 2026, I think, the first commercially available cancer vaccines. You're going to see skin cancer vaccines begin to be available for many people. Also, I think by 2026, we're going to see the first short film that is purely generated through AI. It's going to be very on par with what humans can accomplish. It's going to have, full narration, full storyline, cohesive storyline. It's all going to be AI generated, and it's going to shake up things for the media industry. I also think that by late 2026, there's going to be this acceleration of the gig economy. Lots of people are going to be more accepting of taking gig work. Instead of just going to a job, they're going to accept gigs and work from home, as AI is going to enable us to work from home mostly. 2027. This is a pivotal year, and I think that it's going to see lots of great changes. I think in early 2027, we're going to see the Nancy Roman telescope launch, and it's going to give us more insight on dark energy and tell us a bit more about the Big Bang. It's going to be exciting. However, at this time, I think AI is going to now be responsible for replacing 50 million jobs across the world. I think Bitcoin is going to reach the price tag of about $250,000 US. Cryptocurrency is going to be more widely adopted across companies and workplaces. We're also going to see the first commercially viable solar perovskite material, this thin, filmy solar PV material. So people are going to be able to, essentially produce this film for windows, put on rooftops. This is really going to expedite solar energy adoption across the world because this material is probably going to be competitive with regular PV, but also way easier to install. At this point in 2027, I think that electric vehicles are going to make up at least 15% of the market share. So 15% of all cars on the road are probably going to be EVs, and most of those are going to be self-driving at this point. They're going to be capable of self-driving. And I think SpaceX and NASA are finally going to land on the moon with their Artemis 3 mission. I think it's going to be successful. It's going to be a historical event for all humanity to see. Generative AI is going to continue to disrupt the media industry. People are going to be able to generate short films, music, right, entire albums, and it's going to be extremely disruptive to the media industry. And we're going to see some backlash, probably from a lot of creators, a lot of artists, big artists out there, probably going to be very mad about this, but they're not going to be able to compete. And I think by late 2027, we're going to see the first human trial that is successful in restoring vision in somebody. So Neuralink is going to be able to restore vision partially, not fully. They're going to be able to see things though, shapes and colors again, but it's not going to be full vision. But I think they're going to be successful in restoring vision in a human being. Also, autonomous stores are going to be rising in popularity. Stores that people set up like, fast food chain restaurants. We're going to see lots of big name stores, Target, Amazon. They're going to have these autonomous stores. People can walk in, just grab what they need and go. It's all going to be autonomous. That's going to be more increasingly popular as time goes on. Okay, 2028. Early this year, I think we're going to see cultured meat or cultivated meat become more popular. It's going to start being introduced into restaurants. As the price of this cultivated meat starts to become competitive with traditional meat, people are going to start catching on to it, and it's going to start becoming more common throughout the world. I also think that in 2028, it's going to be a major year for AI as AGI is finally achieved. Artificial General Intelligence, multimodal systems will have at least 60 trillion parameters, which is on par with what a human brain can perform and is capable of doing. It'll be like talking to a person. It can generate what a person can generate back to you, and it'll probably do it far better at that time. So essentially what we've done is make a digital copy of a human intelligence. It's going to be quite game changing. Now, universities during this time and brick and mortar schools are going to start shutting down very quickly. We're going to see a steep decline in brick and mortar schools across the nation, across many other countries. And this is because of AI. AI tutoring is going to start increasing. People are going to be doing more learning through online education, and they're going to have entire courses where people are learning with an AI tutor. And we've seen the beginnings of this with GPT-4o, but this is going to, by 2028, this is going to be even more capable in teaching people. And it's going to be more personalized, or you're going to have more personalized lessons, personalized courses, and it's going to change education. I also think by 2028, a company called AstroForge is going to delve into asteroid mining, and they're going to successfully mine an asteroid, perhaps extract some gold from it. It'll be a test run. Won't necessarily retrieve it back to Earth. They probably will, but it could be one of the first successful asteroid minings ever. Also in 2028, I think we'll have lots of more personalized vaccines for cancer, skin cancer, breast cancers. They're going to be more personalized. So in other words, you're going to have scientists produce specific vaccines for specific people and specific cancer cells. This will increase the effectiveness of these vaccines. It'll also heighten their ability to prevent these cancers and stop them. And for the first time ever, I think in 2028, phone sales will start to decline. I think the phone is going to die in 2028. Now, that's not to say that everybody's just going to get rid of their phones immediately, but we're going to start seeing the decline of phones. They're going to be replaced with AR glasses. I think by this time, a lot of people are going to have AR glasses, and they're going to be embedded with AGI and VR, AR, everything you need on these glasses. And that's going to be the more common thing to have. Okay, 2029. In 2029, the European Space Agency is going to launch their Ariel survey telescope, which is going to look at different exoplanets around the galaxy. And I think they're going to successfully detect the likely chance of life on another planet. I think for the first time, we're going to peer into an atmosphere, look at its chemical composition, look at the temperature of this planet in the atmosphere, and we're going to recognize life. Now, we're not going to be absolutely certain about this life, but it's probably going to be, among scientists, the consensus amongst them is probably going to be, yeah, this is probably life. And that's going to be pretty interesting to see in that time. Also, the asteroid Apophis is going to make its close encounter to Earth during 2029, April 13th. And it's going to make the news, and a lot of people are going to be excited about that. A lot of conspiracies about it probably as well. Also, Google is going to announce their 1 million qubit quantum computer. And this is going to be a huge step in the quantum revolution. Also, during this time, there's going to be lots of protests amongst people, the public. A lot of people are going to be mad about the fact that AI is taking over jobs and the government's not doing much about it. But I think governments are going to warm up to universal basic income, universal basic services. This is going to be really talked about during the elections that year. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the presidents of countries to instill UBI, where 2/3 of the cost of living is completely covered through UBI, something like that. And a lot of companies are going to slowly move away from a 5-day work week. They're going to implement 4-day work weeks and perhaps even 3-day work weeks as hours are cut down due to AI pretty much doing all the work. Also in 2029, we're going to see a very sure sign of CO2 emissions declining. They're going to decline very rapidly in 2029. And we're going to see for the first time that we are doing something for the climate. It's working. Remember, during this time, we're still going to see heat waves. We're still going to see droughts. All these things are still going to accumulate, even though we're doing work to solve it. I also think in 2029, we're going to see lots of 3D housing. I think 3D housing prices are going to be competitive with traditional housing costs. And this is going to spark a lot of changes in the housing industry. A lot of people are going to purchase 3D homes, and they're going to be perhaps even cheaper as time goes on further from that. and they're going to be the main thing after that. Also in 2029, we're going to see at least 10 million humanoid robots deployed across America. This is going to be large companies mostly that have the robots, but perhaps some homeowners using them in homes, and a lot of businesses are going to have these. And these robots are going to be able to, at this time, pretty much do 75% of what a human can do. Also, 2029, we're going to see NASA and other space agencies begin work on the Lunar Gateway, which is going to be a permanent lunar module that's going to orbit the moon and house lots of astronauts. And they're going to set up a permanent colony on the moon, the beginnings of it. And I think that in 2029, SpaceX and NASA are going to launch an unmanned mission to Mars. They're going to set it up with pretty much all robots are going to be sent to Mars to begin working on the first settlement for Mars in preparation for humans in the coming years. 2030. Now, by 2030, the United Nations has set out this goal for at least 90% of the world to be literate and to have internet access. And I think that's going to remain true. I think that it's going to be even more than that. I think almost 100% of people are going to have internet access, and at least 99% are going to be literate. I think during this time, a lot more countries are going to be warm to universal healthcare as well. Water shortages are going to hurt a lot of cities. A lot of cities around the world are going to run out of water, especially in South American countries, in African countries, the Middle East. A lot of cities are going to run out of water, and they're going to be relying on imports, desalination plants. And this is perhaps going to be sparked by a heat wave, a major heat wave that comes across the Middle East, Europe, United States. It's going to get worse and worse. Also in 2030, we're going to see cultured meat finally be really cheap, really much more affordable than regular meat. We're going to see a steep decline in animal farming across the world during this time. And by 2030, most gaming will be automated. It'll be AI implemented, so people will be able to make their own games, and they're going to be super photorealistic. At this point, it's going to be very hard to notice the difference between a virtual reality and real reality. 2031. 2031, I think, is going to see the first crewed landing on Mars. I think NASA and SpaceX and other agencies are going to finally land on Mars for the first time, alongside many other robots, and it's going to be a historical event, and humanity is going to be proud about it, and it's going to make a lot of people think about what's possible. At this time in 2031, 99% of cars on the road are now self-driving. Self-driving is fully level 5. There is nobody driving with their hands ever on the road, unless you're like, law enforcement or things like that, or there's like an emergency. Also, at this time, there would be at least 100 million humanoid robots deployed across America, and perhaps more in other countries. And they're going to be pretty much as capable of humans. They're going to be able to do at least 90% of tasks that humans can do. And in 2031, I think Apple and other major companies are going to start releasing contact lenses embedded with AI and AR abilities. So we're going to see contact lenses that you put on your eye and you can see pretty much everything you need. All digital media, all content you need, any movies, Netflix. You'll be able to fully game with your contact lenses. It'll be very immersive. It'll be very realistic. Pretty much all you'll have is a contact lens that does everything for you. It'll be your personal assistant. It'll be everything you ever need in your contact lens. Generative AI is going to continue changing up and disrupting the music and film industries. People are going to be able to produce films, music, albums fully on their own will, and it's going to be a game changer for music forever. 2032. I think this is the year that the world on average surpasses 1.5 degrees of warming, global warming, since last century's average temperature. But the good news is that at this time, at least 55% of all energy is produced through renewable sources like solar, wind, geothermal, and perhaps even nuclear fusion. We're going to see the first commercially viable fusion plants start replacing natural gas plants, things like that. I also think in 2032, we're going to see the world's first trillionaire. I don't know who it is, but it's going to be interesting to see. While that's happening, you're going to see at least 2 billion people worldwide out of the workforce, essentially unemployed. Now, at this time, UBI is going to be implemented across most Western countries. You're going to see lots of universal basic services, shared transportation, and a lot of that UBI is going to be paid for through all the revenue that robots are producing, right? So we're kind of just going to sit back and the economy is going to become automated, and humans are going to reap the benefits from all the production from those robots and AI. Because in 2032, at least 500 million humanoid robots are going to be deployed in the workforce, doing manual labor tasks, all the above, especially AI, digital AI, which is going to replace all the other like data jobs, retail jobs, things like that. At least 35% of companies worldwide now have 0 human employees. A lot of them are AI managed. And now a lot of people have humanoid robots in their homes, for their own businesses, things like that. In 2033, at this time, car ownership is going to be very low, the lowest rates that we probably have ever seen since the 1920s. No one's going to want to purchase or own a car when you can just get a ride from Robotaxi that's already driving around the block. At this time, 60% of all cars in the world are going to be electric cars, and a lot of gas cars are going to be completely outlawed in many parts of the world. In 2033, we're going to see less people charging their cars because they're going to have wireless charging, where the roads you're driving on, you're going to charge your battery as you're driving the car. Batteries at this time are going to be better, even still, but also able to charge wirelessly. So you're not going to have to charge your car in your house anymore. And that's if you own a car. At this time, drones and humanoid robots are delivering all packages. No more human people delivering packages. That's going to be ridiculous. And I think in 2033, we're going to have 25% of the human brain digitally mapped out. 25% of the connectome, all the neural connections, all the synapses are going to be mapped out. And this is going to change the game for neuroscience. We're going to be able to pinpoint exactly where psychological disorders come from, mental illness comes from. We're going to be able to see more about the brain. That's going to change neuroscience and psychology. And in 2033, we're going to see the first brain to computer interfaces, the first human trials of people being able to be, sent data into the brain directly. So this is kind of like the next step after contact lenses, brain to computer interfaces, where you have nothing but perhaps a wireless chip on your top of your head or something that's going to send information directly to your brain. And that's going to be a game changer for music, entertainment, because you're going to be completely immersed. It's going to not just simulate visuals, but also sounds, feelings, tastes, smells, all are going to be simulated into your brain. And this is going to change virtual reality, as we know. It's really going to be almost indistinguishable from the regular world. We're also going to see, I think, in 2033, the first robotic law enforcement officers. The first robots with weapons that are going to, be like RoboCop. 2034, I think we're going to see the first successful mining of an asteroid where the net revenue is above $1 billion, perhaps even more than $1 billion. But we're going to see the first sparks of a new industry in asteroid mining. It's going to be now viable for many companies to do, and many robots and probes to do, artificial intelligence to do. I also think in 2034, the Europa Clipper mission, the NASA's Europa probe, is going to go and discover and detect, I think, living microbes on Europa. Now, we're not going to have definitive proof that they're microbes, but we're going to see very familiar biosignatures that is almost definitive evidence of life on Europa. Now, we're also going to see the accumulation of many climate refugees. A lot of small islands across the world, impoverished islands, are going to be inundated with water, flooding, and it's going to cause them to have to migrate into other neighboring territories, neighboring countries. And this is going to cause a lot of havoc, a lot of protesting, a lot of perhaps even conflicts, small wars because of this. People are going to be literally not be able to live in many islands. It's just going to be consistent flooding, and it's just not going to be livable anymore. So I think we'll have at least hundreds of thousands of refugees like that across the world. I also think in 2034, we're going to see the first quantum computing software that's going to be more general purposed for, basic things like an office or in research labs. So you're going to see quantum computers being given or optimized to, researchers who are going to be able to discover new advancements in science and physics through quantum computing now. So it's going to unlock a new revolution in quantum computing because of this new software. which is seemingly impossible today, but I think in the future we'll get it down such that anybody will have access to it. And we will see more and more cloud computing. So we'll have, like, instead of you having a quantum computer in your house, which is never going to happen, they're going to have they're going to have quantum computing servers, so you can essentially leech off of that data, leech off of that bandwidth. And it's going to exponentially increase computing power for everybody. 2035, the final year that I predict, and again, these are really just, it's getting harder and harder to predict outwards into the future, but I think in 2035 we're going to see the first prosthetic kidneys, prosthetic organs like hearts, and they're going to be 3D printed entirely. So this is going to change the game for biotechnology, for medicine, and when we'll be able to just like print hearts, human hearts, whenever we need them. Now with this time, I think most people are going to spend a significant portion of their time in virtual reality worlds. They're just not going to be like work or jobs to do anymore for humans. We're not going to do, or at least any meaningful work, right? We'll still have some chores, but we're not going to do jobs anymore. We're not going to do work like we see it today. There's going to be a paradigm shift in terms of what money even means at this time, right? Because if the economy is going to be fully automated or nearly fully automated, what does money even really mean to you? Right now, we think of money as a way of survival, right? You have to get money to survive and pay for your rent, pay for basic services. But in the near future, that's going to change. It's going to slowly change into a paradigm where it's like, it's just a number, right? Money is just a number. And this is one of the things I'm most excited about, being able to live in that time where money isn't all that important anymore. And we'll finally be able to do a lot more things that we want to do. And because of this, I think a lot of people are going to spend their times, in these virtual reality worlds, which are going to be very, very like enticing to be in. I mean, you're going to be able to do literally anything you want to in these virtual reality worlds. So it's kind of going to be like Ready Player One, like the movie, but it's going to be like the more optimistic version of that, right? The more brightened version of that. Because it's not going to be bad that people are in these virtual reality worlds. Like, we see it as bad today, like, oh, they're just doing nothing, right? But like, what are we doing today? A lot of us are doing just very repetitive tasks every day. And at least in the future, it'll be more exciting. I also think that quantum computing, the quantum revolution, is going to enable a lot more discoveries in science and physics especially, and I think we're going to find finally a unified theory of everything. We're going to meld quantum mechanics with particle physics and everything else, relativity. And I think we're going to learn a lot about space and the universe. It's going to be a very interesting time. And at that time, there's going to be pretty much one robot for every 5 people on the planet. Robots are going to be increasingly more populous than even humans. And there will still be lots of effects of climate change occurring, but I think that we'll be solving the problem enough to the point where it'll be manageable. And although there would be lots of casualties, there'll be, lots of harm caused, lots of damages caused, I think generally humanity will survive and will continue forward. And I think there's a lot to be optimistic about. Yes, there's a lot of bad things that are going to happen in the next 10 years, and what this video was about was to try to explain to you what might be the case. Now, this could all be wrong, but everything I'm talking about in this video a lot of this isn't actually in the works already. I've taken my time to research this, and I looked at the trends, I looked at the data, and it seems to align with what possibly could happen. So hopefully in this video, you understand more now that although there's a lot of things to be pessimistic about in the current world, there's a heck of a lot to be optimistic about. There's a lot of potential we have as a species going into the future, even in the near future. I just wanted to give that optimistic outlook on things, and I don't know, I'm excited about it. It's going to be strange, and this is from our perspective today. The future always looks strange, but I think in the future it'll be interesting to live in, and I can't wait. I'm excited to live in that time and excited to see how everything turns out. It's a very pivotal moment. This is a very pivotal time in human history, right? This is going to be, it's huge. It's huge. As long as we use our brains, as long as we use our brains, use the tools we're producing for the benefit of all, I think we'll be okay. And I think humanity will carry forward.